I'm Elvis Wilson, and thanks for joining us for another segment of Page to Screen's Tennessee Star series. So joining us today is a Tennessee star, Corbin Eaton. He is the writer-director of Sympathy for the Devil. Welcome, Corbin.
Thank you for having me.
So you're a Tennessee screenwriter from
Kansas City.
From Kansas City.
Yes.
So is that oxymoronic? But you're now Tennessean, right?
Yeah, I've been living in the Nashville area for just over 2 years.
Very good. Yeah. I haven't had a chance to see your film yet.
Yeah.
But I saw a trailer. It looks a lot of fun. It feels very guerrilla. I can relate. Tell me a little bit about your experience on it.
Yeah, so I created it with my creative partner, Michael Bentley. We met doing improv comedy and hit it off and started writing sketches and short films. And then we were like, let's finally make one. Yeah. And kind of that's how this all started.
Well, pitch me on the story.
Yeah, so it's the best way I can describe it is it's like Evan Almighty or Bruce Almighty, but with Satan. There's a lonely guy at the bar down on his luck, and the devil approaches him with a typical offer, asking him what he wants. He wants to be happy like everybody else. But the devil also, wants out. He wants a break. What he really wants is a McRib. Yeah, as you'll find out.
Let's take a quick look at Sympathy for the Devil.
Would power make you happy? No, it's just the power bill. I'm not going to trade my soul for power. Authority.
I'm just spitballing here, but maybe it might be nice to channel your energy into something more productive. Like being the devil.
You mean like your apprentice?
No.
Man, that was great.
Thank you.
It looks so fun. We're all about story here on Page to Screen. So how did you get the idea for Sympathy for the Devil?
I write with my creative partner, Michael Bentley, and a lot of it is just figuring out what can we make with what we have at our disposal. We're both indie filmmakers, so we don't really have a lot. We made this completely out of our own budget with no financing. And we knew that we had access to our comedy club, and we had ourselves as actors. And so from there, we were like, okay, well, let's set a story in a bar, and what entertains us. We both like a lot of horror elements, supernatural, and eventually we were like, what if Satan walked into a bar? And it just kind of became a dumb little story from there.
From script to screen, how long did it take you to shoot this?
All in all, it I think took about 3 to 4 months. We kind of lit a fire under our behinds and made sure we made it as soon as possible.
You were literally shooting up to every day, like you were rewriting.
Oh yes,
as you were going. So yeah.
Yeah. What
was that experience like?
Yeah. No, it was great. We had the great honor of acting in our own work, which I don't recommend to anyone. It was a lot. But because of that, we had the freedom to rewrite up to the last take we did.
Is that typical of your process? I mean, what is your process like? I mean, we're all about screenwriting here. So, I mean, do you use note cards and outline? Do you go from a treatment on?
I mean, Michael and I are very big structure nerds. I love a good story structure.
Thank you for saying that.
Of course,
yeah.
But with a story like this, we only have like 5 minutes to kind of tell that story. So really, what's the fillet? What's the core of what we're trying to talk about? And so that was just we used our sketch comedy background and our improv background to kind of get to the core of that.
Yeah, in a short film, you don't really have that 3-act structure like you do with the feature. So you have to take a little license with the structure there. But so you've got the devil here. You have to live with the devil for a while here. What's the backstory in the devil? How did you develop that particular personification or iteration of the devil? The devil has been in a lot of movies.
Yes.
The dude has probably got an agent, so
yeah.
How did you do that?
Yeah, we did do a lot of research on different versions of the devil in film. We're like, okay, am I going to be painted red? Am I going to have horns? Do I have a pitchfork? But ultimately, we wanted him to seem like a businessman and like a poor schmuck, basically, and that's kind of how the devil comes across.
Were you inspired by any iterations of the devil on screen? Like I'm trying to think of the Al Pacino.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? What's that called?
The Devil's Apprentice or something like that.
Yes.
I forget. I'm awful.
Yeah, definitely that kind of that kind of formal. You know,
Yes.
I'm wearing a suit. I got this, red tie on. It was very, very formal, very businesslike throughout the whole thing.
When it comes to writing, directing, producing, what's your backstory?
Yeah, so I started out as an actor as a child. I did theater and local commercials and stuff like that. And once I started acting in small films, I realized how much I loved behind the camera more than being in front of it. And from then on, I made, crappy little films in high school with my friends and went on to film school. And I wanted to be a director, but I realized so does everybody else in film school.
Yeah.
And really the only thing I can have control over is writing. And I don't have to wait for anyone else to write my film. I can write it myself. And so that's where I made the shift to screenwriting. And I wouldn't recommend studying screenwriting in school. It's the equivalent of taking a lot of money and just burning it. So don't go to film school for screenwriting. Just write. That's what I would say.
Yeah, very good. So tell us about some of your other projects. I talked to you earlier. It sounds like you've got quite a busy year coming up.
Yeah. So we just wrapped production on a proof of concept short called Inner Demons. I wish I could say that we planned that our second short would also be about a demon.
Yeah.
My very religious parents are very proud of me. They're just like, "Kid, do you have to make it about the devil again?"
Yeah.
But yeah, we just wrapped production on that. We're in post-production, and that's been a very fun story, and we're excited to see the opportunity of turning that into a feature.
Very cool. Any war stories from this previous shoot? I mean, there's always like...
The main production, it went off without a hitch, but at the end, there's a little scene that takes place in a McDonald's, which we did. We totally got the rights to film in the McDonald's, completely got permission, but we actually had to go to 3 different McDonald's just to steal that shot. We got kicked out of every single one.
Devil's got to have a McRib, though.
He's got to have a McRib. That's all he wants. Yeah.
That's great. What advice would you give to young up-and-comers?
Yeah, I think it's really important to film your own work because then when you're writing it, the only limit is your imagination. But when you actually put it, when rubber meets the road and you're actually filming it, you realize what those words really mean.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important for any writer to at least one time go through the process of producing their own film, whether it's a short or a feature.
I say that all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, even if it's on an iPhone, cobble something together. I think, I'm sorry if sounding like a broken record, but I think the better writers are the people that cobble that together and they understand the space they're writing for so much better. So, yeah. Corbin, do you have any final words of wisdom or advice for our fellow storytellers?
Yeah.
Storytellers out there? Yeah.
If you're planning on filming in a McDonald's, have a backup plan.
Yeah. Go to Hardee's.
Yeah. Burger King is probably a better option.
Or somewhere with a salad. All right. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Elvis Wilson, and thanks for watching Page to Screen. So keep on writing, guys, and keep on learning. Thanks. Joining us today are a couple of Tennessee stars, Sally Pitts and Ryan Gaumont, with the film Wake Up. Love this movie. I just thoroughly entertained by this movie. I feel like I need, here, where's my wallet? I want to give you money, No,
you can. That's great. I love when an interview starts like that.
Yeah. It's screening at the Nashville Film Festival as we speak, right? Yeah. So, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Give me a pitch. What's your movie about?
It's about a woman that wakes up to an intruder in her room, and then what happens next is pretty unexpected for both of them, I think.
Where'd you get the idea? Where did it come from?
I read a book called We're All the Same in the Dark by Julia Haberlin, and there's two characters in there, and one has one eye and one is an amputee. And I was reading the research part of it when at the end of the book, and it was really interesting. She talked to a lot of different women that had were amputees or maybe had one eye, and the thing that came through was that they were like, we don't want people to feel sorry for us. We are not asking for pity. We're just living our lives. And so that's my character in the movie is, she's an amputee, and she doesn't want to be pitied by the robber that doesn't want to rob her because she's an amputee. She just is like, you know, do what you're going to do.
You're saying that I shouldn't be robbed because I'm different.
You want me to rob you?
I want you to treat me like you treat anybody else that you steal from.
Well, like right now, or should I come back later?
You weren't going to originally be the star of the show. Someone else was.
So I was going to be the star. However, we were going to have a woman that was an amputee to be the body double for that part. But unfortunately, she came down with COVID the day before, and she couldn't be in it. But she read the script, and she really loved it, and was happy to sort of give it her blessing. So. Awesome. Yeah.
So all along you were going to be the actress, just the body double
yes,
part.
Yes.
Understood.
For authenticity.
Practical effects purposes.
And luckily she does a lot of yoga, so it was she could handle
bending my leg back,
bending her leg and hiding it.
Yeah. For those who don't know, in the movie, we see her leg, and you have to bend your leg back for long takes, or at least when the covers are off there.
Yeah.
That must have been very hard.
It was. I couldn't feel it after a while. So
sacrificing for your art. Yeah, that's what you do. So how long did it take for you to come up with the idea and to shooting script? Was this a month? Is it something that had been gesticulating for a long time? Or?
So I came up with the idea, and I entered this script competition where if you won, you would get to get your film made, but it was rejected. And I was like, that's fine, because I want to make it, and we'll make it. And we have our friends that we made the film with. And so, I don't know, probably from originally writing it to end of shooting, 8 months, but that's because it just took us time. We live in different states, and if we had it, it probably could have been a month from pre to post, but because we were doing it in our own time.
So let's talk a minute about your process for a minute. When you get these ideas, do you use note cards? Do you outline? How does it come together in your minds?
So I like to think about an idea for a little while, and then probably start with an outline to know where you're kind of going, and then a bad first draft, and then just keep drafting it from there. But we write together as well. I wrote this, but we do write together, and we love just talking about it, and building the characters, and talking about the themes, and that's a big part of the process. And that's nice when you have someone to work with. It's not just you in your head thinking about.
Are you tough on each other? Yeah, are you honest with each other?
Yeah, I mean, we got to be honest. Yeah. But also, I mean, I think a writing partnership, there is, you got to trust each other, and sometimes if that's compromising ideas, I don't know, but you just have to trust each other, and
And I think you kind of veto the bad ideas straight away, because you're like, no, that doesn't work, or this is work, and we try to make each other laugh, and kind of build on each other's ideas. Whereas if you're just doing it by yourself, you don't have anyone to be like, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's the best part, is having her get to say, I have a bad idea, and we can move on.
That's right.
Yeah.
But you have to work through those bad ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you tell me a bit about how you got into filmmaking, screenwriting?
I started out as in acting school when I was 19, and then I was auditioning for a lot of girlfriend roles, and I was like, I just don't want to be another girlfriend. And so I started writing characters for myself to play and making short films, and characters that I wanted to see and be. And then I discovered that I loved screenwriting more. And then I kind of started writing more, and then I studied screenwriting in Australia, and then kind of just keep doing it.
What about you?
Yeah, I started in theater in my early teens, all throughout school. I loved doing that. I really got into sketch comedy in high school, and that kind of got me into filmmaking as well. I went to film school, but I ended up just studying screenwriting because we were doing a lot of stuff with like actual film, which was fun, but it was just way too intimidating for me, and I just wanted to tell stories and write and act. So I did that, and then I got my degree in theater as well. Most of my background is live comedy, but I've always dabbled in film and short films, and so it's nice to kind of get back into it.
Earlier, you mentioned about being rejected from the film festival. I would love for our younger writers to understand, like, what do you expect to get out of a competition? I know what I want. I enter a lot of competitions, but I also have professional readers, and I have producers that read my work. What do you expect to get from the screenwriting competition experience?
I think like competitions and screenwriting competitions, it's so incredibly difficult because sometimes you don't even know how close you were to making it or how far away you were. And just because someone didn't like your script doesn't mean your script can't find a place somewhere else. And I think getting notes from friends and people in the industry is really important to kind of see where you're at. But at the end of the day, it's your story and you have to stay true to it as well. So it's like knowing what to take and what to like and leave. But I think that, screenwriting competitions are really difficult because just because you don't win an award doesn't mean it's not. Yeah. It's not worthwhile, you continuing it.
Rejection isn't failure. I think that's one of the things I've learned a lot from film festivals, and she's entered a lot more screenwriting contests than I have, but rejection isn't failure. Like, there's a whole lot of reasons why a film festival just can't work your movie in, or your script doesn't fly with somebody who read it, but it doesn't mean you failed. It doesn't mean you suck as a writer. I think if half the people who read your stuff like it, I think you're winning. Like, I think that's a great batting average. So
that's the thing. Like, we get rejected from more things we get accepted to, and we just keep going because ultimately, if you're happy with what you're doing and you feel good about it and you're sharing that, then you keep going regardless. Because it's not about winning awards. It's about doing the work and getting it out there for people to see. Yeah.
You guys have been great. Do you have any final words of wisdom or advice for our young or even old, like me, fellow storytellers? So,
I think the most important thing is, like, don't wait for permission to do something, to make something, to create something, to write something, to do what you feel that you really want to do, because no one's coming to be like, you have permission now. You just do it and just keep going and creating.
Giving notes and feedback is an art, and I think the better that you can give feedback, I think that goes a long way with partnerships, friendships, any kind of relationship you have. But understanding how to give good notes when you're reading something, I think that goes such a long way.
Very good. Thank you for that. That was great. It's been very entertaining.
Thank you
so much.
And best of luck with your project.
Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Appreciate it.
I'm Elvis Wilson, and thanks for watching Page to Screen. Keep on writing, my friends, and keep on learning.
Hello, I'm Anna Maria. Thanks for joining us for another segment of Page to Screen's Tennessee Stars series, where we talk about screenwriting and independent filmmaking here in the great state of Tennessee. Joining us today is another Tennessee star, Nick Livanos. He's a writer, director, producer, all kinds of different talents oozing out of this gentleman, which recently he screened at the Nashville Film Festival. Welcome, Nick.
Thanks. It's good to be oozing with you.
Oozing?
With talent.
How would you describe it? You know, if you had to give a pitch, what would you say?
Yeah, this is the kind of the one-liner idea is that desperate to win this high-stakes cooking contest, Chef Ben, who we saw, unintentionally conjures up an imaginary friend to help him win. But what happens to the rest of his life when he throws his ambition into overdrive? It's a little bit like Ratatouille meets Inside Out.
We can take a peek now together, and then we can talk about your fabulous
Great.
film. Great.
Let's check it out.
You want to be the very best in the world.
Yes, chef.
That's what you want to do? You want to win?
on, Chef. We're almost there.
You know who I am?
I know. You're me. We're inside my head.
The power of imagination, baby.
I need to print up all the flunkies and losers so the world knows how to blacklist you forever.
That's it! You look fantastic! I love cooking!
I love cooking.
So you spend all day cooking for other people and you won't feed me.
Probably would have proved to my dad that I really was a failure.
You play all the notes all the time, you're gonna go crazy.
Oh, I'm going crazy, I'm going crazy, I'm going crazy.
Well, it looked like it was a lot of fun, and you were even playing in it.
I do play a small role. I was cheaper than anyone else we could get.
Cheaper? Well, you know, I mean, that's often, you know, the budget's always very important, right?
Yeah.
We're all about story here on Page to Screen. Tell us about the idea. What gave you the idea to do this?
We were about to make a sci-fi film, and then it was about getting back to like the roots of the things I want to make the most, sort of like maybe more along this tone of a film. Mm-hmm. And then it was sort of like identifying themes, like what do I care about enough? What do I like emotionally understand that I can explore? What do I have questions about? And so it ended up being about sort of identity and how we form our identities. And then we just sort of found out like, well, I also like cooking, so maybe the setting of like the kitchen would be a good place to put a lot of stuff. And then it just like ideas started to flow, and it became a thing.
And it looked like it was a lot of fun.
We had a pretty good time.
Wow.
I think the producers were a little stressed sometimes about like how many different locations and costume changes and things like that, given how much money we had to spend on the whole thing.
Tell us about your process. Do you use cards? Do you use outline? Do you just go stream of consciousness? Do you just, when the creative muses hit you, what's your process?
Yeah, kind of all of those things, maybe except for the creative muse. I'm, as a person who's sort of like been lucky enough to get a couple chances to like be paid to write creatively, I don't really believe in writer's block. Where you're sort of waiting for inspiration. For me, it's possible I don't believe in it for other people. No offense to other people who have experienced it, but I feel like you got to treat it like a job. You got to show up and do your work. Like if it was like plumbing, you'd go to the house, you'd crank some pipes, and you'd get it done. And so I try to put on my tool belt and go out there and write the pages and get the thing done. This time was most different because I finally got to work with other people on the front end, breaking the story. Some people who are very structure-minded and other things, and sort of like we could talk about characters and general structure, and they helped me have a lot of confidence as we sort of said, no, not that quite, maybe this, maybe that, and then eventually, like when four people I trust all said, yes, we think that's a story. I said, thank goodness. Now I can get down to writing without fear that I'm just sort of like going to crank out 120 pages of like, does it even work?
How did you get into filmmaking?
Yeah, I mean, I had a teacher in high school who was very distractible. He was a very good storyteller, and we could get him to not make class happen by being like, come on, tell us another story. We were begging him for stories. So we sort of tricked him into not having class, which was great for us as students. But it also, like, it turned this thing on my mind, like, to be so good at storytelling, people would beg you for stories. I was like, I want that thing. I want that. And at the same time, like there was sort of opportunities opening up for doing film school in college, and I just sort of went down that path. And I was like, well, hopefully there's something about film school that's sort of about stories and not just cameras. And then it turns out like, well, that's all it is. Like the cameras are at the service of the story, the editing's at the service of the light, everything's at the service of the story. So it ended up being a really good fit.
What advice would you give to other filmmakers, and particularly those who are new coming into this?
Yeah, especially if you want to be a creative leader. I had the good fortune of hearing Lee Isaac Chung, who's director of Minari, which went to the Oscars a couple years ago. I saw him right after his movie premiered at Sundance that same year. I think it was 2020. He came and talked to a smaller group, and somebody kind of stood up and said, "Wow, basically, I want to be you. What should I do?" And he was he was washed up on shore, kind of like he thought maybe this is the end of my career. I don't know if I should be doing this. He did not yet know he was about to win Sundance and go on to the Oscars. And he said, "Don't do it."
He said, "Don't do it."
He said, "Do not do it. It's too hard."
Is that what you would suggest to someone?
Well, here there's a good thought process here. I think philosophically, he said, unless you feel like you just can't live, you can't breathe, unless you're telling stories, don't do it. Don't do it because some imagined version of like a person you want to be. Too many people want to have made movies, want to have the benefit of whatever it means to them of having been a writer, having been a director. They see like all of like the flashing cameras and the red carpets, and they imagine that thing is the thing that they're going to get and what they want. But unless you want to wake up on a random Tuesday morning and you're 47 and put your fingers on the keyboard and write, don't do it. But if that thing gets you excited, then maybe it's the thing for you. So he kind of like threw out a big warning there, and I felt like I was really impacted by it.
That's great. Well, we really appreciate you coming and sharing your story, and it's just fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for watching Page to Screen. Keep on writing, keep on learning.